So I think where is Falari today? I think we can. So today as the last day, we will have a group image or photo at the end of training. And in addition, also there will be, we can say, an open discussion about your experience in this training. This will be done, inshallah, by Lucrezia. So I expect that all of you will be there, at least for documentation, so that prepare yourself for a group photo. You are always handsome, I know, or good looking. um, do we need to wait some minutes for others, or we can start?
Don't see Valerie.
Yes, maybe
Yes,
we can
Valerie
wait for
today.
her for 5 minutes. I will contact her to see.
Okay. You know, Dr. Muhammad, yes, on Monday, we passed in West Bekaa area near the Karaoun Lake. The lake is almost at full capacity now. Then we passed then we passed the wetland. Amik wetlands. And I was surprised to see the large area covered by water again, which brings the wetland to its original status, you know, in the 60s and 70s. Yes, the area covered by water is such huge, such large. So I was very happy to see that.
Yes.
Restoration of ecosystem. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So here maybe this condition should be recorded or documented, because you know that there is a change in climate, but in some areas will induce a negative impact, but expected also for some areas to have a positive one. So maybe as not usual in case of wetland in Lebanon, there is some positive changes.
Yes.
So it will be very good to document such issues. I think it can be very quick study by satellite image. Just
Yes.
an image
Yes.
or satellite image for the area now
No.
at this time, and compared to the one before 2 or 3 years, it can give some hint. Yeah.
Yes, of course, you are right. And Valerie has joined us.
Yeah.
Good morning. The electricity problem.
Falari, finally you are here. You are welcome after the managing the problem of electricity and Wi-Fi.
Yes, كهرباء الدولة والمطار ف5 دقايق اجت وراحت 4 مرات.
Oh, but today, as I told the others that we will have a group photo and also an open or immediate ceremony at the end. So hopefully the electricity.
Yeah, I hope so. That everyone will be here at the end.
So I think we have to start to save time. I will make some change in the program. I will bring the issue of health and safety at the beginning because it is more or less it is. I don't expect a lot of discussion in this issue, but I expect many intervention and comment in issue related to the interpretation. So I give the most of the time for I think so, yeah, that we will have a lot of discussion in issue related to soil result interpretation. So if you allow me, I prefer to start with health and safety, and the second session will be about the soil interpretation, if you are agree. Very slight modification.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
It's okay with it.
It is okay, Filari? No? Uh, welcome. This is 11th and last day of training session for Lebanon. The first session will be outline for health and safety in soil laboratory. Actually, this document is prepared by NASOLAN for training session 2021. So I just presented it, and it is prepared in PDF. So health and safety in lab. What does it matter? Actually, with the health and safety in the lab, you protect yourself and other lab workers, and also it is for cleaners, visitors, and your work. All this actually is a concern of health and safety to protect you and other lab worker and visitor. And you make your work environment in healthy and clear way. The responsibility of this for everyone. Everyone is responsible to keep healthy and safe working environment. So what is health and safety? It concerns about laws, rules, and principles that are intended to keep people safe from injury or disease at work and in public places. This is according to the Cambridge Dictionary. All laws, rules, principles that target or it is objective to keep the people safe from basic two issues, that injuries or disease at work and public. Always there is some misunderstanding, or there is a need for clear definition of hazard and risk. What we mean, what's the difference between them? Hazard is any source of potential damage or harm to an individual's health or life under certain condition. Always there is a hazard. If you drive a car, there is a hazard. That may you have some problems. Maybe this is a hazard. I like to be optimistic. I don't like to be optimistic. So even if you have a car, for example, there will be a hazard that may you have problem. The machine itself stop for any reason. um, um, an accident, and so on. But the risk, in other hand, is a chance or probability of a person being harmed or experience an adverse health effect if exposed to a hazard. So always there is a hazard, but how far or what's the probability of having problem is the risk in a simple way. So the purpose or well, always the goal is to minimize the risk. Always there is hazard, but what we can do is to minimize the risk of having problem from that hazard. As I said, if you have a car, of course you have a hazard. So the risk is depending on many factors. So what we will going to do to minimize the risk by taking care of your car, drive in with not so fast, also use good road, and so on. So this all these measurements, they are intended to minimize the risk. So risk can be reduced by taking measures to minimize or control the hazard. As I mentioned, there is always hazard, but you have to do or to take some measurement to minimize or control that hazard. Always to reduce the risk, it need to have a procedure or to have a conceptual framework to do that, starting from recognize of the hazard. Recognize the hazard. Then you assess the risk of the hazard. If there is if we take the same some example, the car, you of course there will be hazard, but if your car have a problem in your brake, of course there will be a high risk. So here you to recognize the hazard, then you assess the risk of that hazard. You have a problem in your brake, for example. I hope that no one have problem in brake of his car, but of course if there is a problem with the brake, so that the risk, the assessment of this hazard or the risk of the hazard will be very high. So starting by recognition of the hazard, and the second is to assess the risk, and the third one is to minimize or control the risk of hazard. In our example, of course, to minimize or control the risk, you go to the fix. You go to fix the problem of the brake, so that at least you minimize or even control that risk. So 3 steps: recognition, assessment, and minimizing or controlling the risk. Then you prepare for emergencies from uncontrolled. Always there is the need for some emergency measurement. So by recognize the hazard, we give some detailed information about that. Know what hazards are present in your lab. So in your lab, always the sources of hazard in the laboratory, for example, fire, breakage of glassware, spillage, pressure equipment and gas cylinders, extremes of heat cold, chemical hazard, biological hazard, radiation. All these issues are present in laboratory. Especially always there's high concern about pressure equipment and gas cylinders. Even personally, I face a problem like this with gas cylinders and fire, because now most of spectroscopic instrument use, at the end they use fire, flame photometer, AAS, all these instruments, they have a source of uh, fire. So all these in the laboratory, they are source of hazard. So you have to know the sign and the meaning. Normally, this signs mean something. So this one mean this material or this instrument or this condition in general, it has some health hazard, and this flammable, harmful, compressed gases, corrosive, explosive, environmental hazard, toxic, oxidizing. So in place or in place on or on material, you will find always such signs. So you have to take care of this. So this is a training: health, flammable, toxic, corrosive, explosive, and also compressed gas. So as we said, the risk can be reduced by taking measures to minimize or control the hazard. This by assess the risk of the hazard. So for the risk assessment is the process of estimating the probability of harm from a hazard by considering the process or the laboratory procedures that will be used within the hazard. So here you make the assessment, the necessary assessment, by doing estimating the probability of harm from a hazard. For example, if you have Magellan cylinders, no, I mean gas cylinders. If you put the gas cylinder within the lab, the hazard here or the risk is very high in comparison with someone who put gas cylinder outside the lab in a very certain place or confined place. Here the risk will be low. So here you will going to estimate the probability of harm from a hazard according to the condition itself. So the risk assessment, severity of the hazard, and also probability of exposure to the hazard. Also, normally, if you keep the chemical in a safe place, of course, there will be a hazard from the chemical materials. But if you keep it in an appropriate place, so the probability will be less. If you don't have good fume hood, here the probability of exposure to gases and will be high. So here always you can working on the probability. The hazard, as I said, always there, but the risk can be reduced by the measurement you did, and all this measurement will uh, minimize the probability of exposure to the hazard. And this always done before and during and after an experiment. So you need always to quantify laboratory risk assessment. There is a two type of risk assessment. It could be qualitative one, and the other type will be quantitative. Normally, the most common one is the qualitative one, because in qualitative one, you are not going to have concrete figures, but you have some evaluation and just judgment or conclusion from your assessment. So here the assessor or the person who will going to assess the risk will use their personal judgment to identify hazard around the workplace, assess risk, and plan control measurement. Here you have very subjective judgment. For some people some person he can qualitatively identify that the risk is very high, but for the other one he said the risk is moderate. It depends on the personal judgment. In the other type, the quantitative risk assessment, the assessor will use a risk matrix. Here he will use a very precise and quantitative method. So for the risk assessment in the laboratory, you will going to make assessment for the quality risk assessment. In case you concern about quality of your data, we talk a lot about the quality assurance and quality control. So here you can make some assessment of your quality of your data. Also environmental risk assessment concerning about the environment of your work, health and safety risk assessment, economic risk assessment, and this related to the equipment and incomes of the laboratory. For the risk assessment, there are major three steps: risk identification, risk analysis, and risk treatment. So you have to identify the risk, you have to analysis, and then you have to take the necessary action. By risk identification, the purpose to find and recognize and describe risks that may prevent an organization achieving its objective. And you need to have very relevant and appropriate and up-to-date information. So the basic objective or purpose of the risk identification is recognition and description of the risk. Then with the risk analysis, you make a rating for the risk, its severity, likelihood, and frequency, or you can just make a rating with the severity multiplied by likelihood. In likelihood and frequency, both of them, they are concerning about the probability of that occurring of the problem, how much it can influence. Then you will have a risk matrix. Here, with the risk matrix, identify that for yeah, insignificant, negligible, moderate, extensive, and significant. And here, almost certain, likely, possible, unlikely, rare. And here, the likelihood, if you notice here, it concerns about how 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 we expect that this risk will occur. Almost certain, starting from the almost certain, we are very certain that the risk be will be there in this lab, and with one, it is very rare to have problem. So in the other columns, yes, there is, for example, there is almost certain that the risk is there, but the type of risk uh, is not significant, so it is not so harmful, insignificant, negligible, moderate. For example, in most of the laboratory, there will be spoilage, for example. But if the spoilage is for inert material, set for example for editor, the effect of editor is not so harmful, so we can say it is insignificant or negligible. But if the spoil material was conch sulfuric acid, so the impact will be very significant, because it is a burning material. It can burn or make a lot of serious problem. So here, likelihood concerning about probability of occurring of certain risk, here in this one, in the row from almost to the rare, and in the column you identify the severity of that risk. Then by measuring the accessibility of the risk, you make the matrix, the risk matrix, and here you will classify the rate starting from acceptable, medium, and high. Here, for example, acceptable, likely to occur but it is insignificant. And when you go to the red one, they are very high. So you have one multiplied by 5, 2 multiplied by 5, 3 multiplied by, and so on. By this here, you transfer the issue from qualitative one into quantitative one. You give a very clear numbers. So based on that, you can have your threshold, and then you can, based on this threshold, you classify the hazard into acceptable one, medium, and high. And within high, you have 2 levels. Here, we have some, here, there's some example of risk activities. Here in this photo, this one has some problem with safety. Here, here, and here. So the measuring of susceptibility limits. If you go to here, he don't wear a glassware, yeah. Also here, he wear unsuitable shoes, yeah. And also here, he don't wear gloves. In addition, also that so for the risk treatment, the
Add the respiration also, risk from respiration of gases.
yes, you're right. Here, the risk treatment, starting from the bottom, starting from the person himself, he should protect the workers with personal protective equipment, glassware, gloves, lab coat, all this considered as a personal protective equipment. Also, there is administrative controls, change the way people work. This from administrative one. Also, engineering control. You have to isolate people from the hazard, and this can be starting from the design itself. Always you have to keep some rooms for preparation, some rooms for chemical storing, and other rooms for specific instruments that evaporate some gases, and then substitution, replace the hazard, and elimination. Also, you have to physically remove the source of the hazard or the hazard itself if there is any measurement to be done. Here also some example of risk treatment, control or minimize. Here you make elimination. You get the cylinder outside of the lab. Here also we make some administration control. So he checks the valve and all this. And here also make a substitution for that. Here, the same person with some treatment action to minimize the risk. We change the shoes. We use the glassware, and also here he used gloves, and also he pushed the fume hood down, so he, as Dr. Talal said, prevent himself from gases. So here there's some treatment for risk. As we said, the risk can be reduced by process of recognition, assessment of the risk, minimize or control the risk. So you have to use the safe practices. It's not, of course, in most of the laboratory, soil laboratory, or in general laboratory, and even computer laboratory, it is not allowed to eat and drink in the laboratories, because you expose yourself to the risk. So you have to know details and location of the fetal laboratory information. Yeah, for example, this one is toxic. Make a labeling with the label you can provide information for the worker and visitor. Also, you have to protect yourself and your colleagues. Personally, I remember during I was teaching assistance, one a day that the flame photometer was burnt and get fire. So I tried to close it. I have a colleague with me. He run just because the fire start. He run, but I at that moment I decide to stay to fix the problem. So I after that, of course, you have to protect yourself and you have to protect your colleague whenever there is a problem, especially with fire. You know that fire is very dangerous issue. Also, you have to use a proper safety equipment, fume hood, also use of personal protective equipment, PPE, lab coat, glassware, proper shoes. Here, personal protective equipment, eye protection by glasses, mask, lab coat, gloves, and for long hair, whatever, it must be tied back. Closed shoes. So you have to wear the clothing and protective wear identified in your risk assessment. What to use and when to use is the key to probably protecting yourself. This is a standard personal protective equipment. So here, for example, the gloves, there are many different types of protective gloves. Latex, natural rubber, nitrile, polyphenol chloride. Each one of these glove has it is certain and specific characteristic and also use. For example, the natural rubber is good for biological and water-based material, but it is very poor for organic solvent. Also, its chemical protection is very low. Also, it is very hard to detect puncture holes. Also, for some person, it can make latex allergies. The other type, nitrile, it is an excellent general use glove, good for solvent, oil, greases, and some acid and bases. And also it clear identification of tears and breaks. Also, it is a good alternative. Larry, what type of gloves you have from Lucrezia? The second type or the first or?
No,
Nitrile.
from Lucrezia and
Nitrile.
You get the second one, yeah?
no, we have the latex and sometimes the nitrile.
Nitrile.
Yeah, it depends on the budget.
Okay.
We have nitril now.
No.
No.
It is good, yeah.
No.
You were asking me what do I receive from Lucretia?
Yes.
No, no gloves, lab coat and the glasses.
Okay. But in your laboratory, normally you use this one, nitril,
Yes, latex or nitril.
yeah?
It depends the size of the boxes that I brought also.
Yeah. This nitril is excellent one. Polyphenol chloride, PVC, also good for acid, base, fat, peroxide, and amines, and good resistance to abrasions. But it is very poor for most organic solvents. So from here you have to you have I think the last two one nitril and PVC they are suitable for most of the daily business or daily work of most of the laboratory, especially for the soil. Yeah. So you have to use the correct one for the job you will be doing. That mean chemical compatibility. And also, of course, you have to remove the glove before using an instrument, telephone, and leaving the laboratory. Here also some safety equipment, fume hood, and it should be used in a proper way to get the maximum protection. Keep sashes down, don't store flammable liquid and equipment in hood. Also, you have to limit traffic behind you. So here the different types of fume hood, canopy, snorkel fume hood extraction. And of course, all of them must be know what type of fume hood you should probably use. The chemical storage also, it is a very important issue that you have to ensure that all chemicals are stored according to compatibility. I think we talk about this once, yeah. That's the compatibility.
Yes, we did. In the first day.
First day, yeah, that the base and acid, you have to choose the compatibility, or you have to ensure that compatible chemical are stored together. And also that the materials that reactive with water should be stored separately. Also, the label often identifies the hazardous nature of the product stored. And also, food container must never be used for chemical storage. Here, there is a very famous accident in Hawaii, University of Hawaii, because there's spark from pressure gauge. Postdoc who lost an arm in the incident was using a gauge not specified for weight with flammable. Also, here also to minimize or control the risk of hazard, the sign of label. It is very important. We mentioned that. As you know, the signs are way of communication. It's very important. Here, biohazard. The label should describe what the content is also and any precautions. Here, must use eye protection, lab coat glove only use under BSC. And this, of course, need to know the properties of chemical and biological agent before use or transport them. That toxicity, flammability, reactivity, incompatibility, corrosive, unstable, and radioactive. All this help to minimize or control the risk. I think we talk about this once, yeah, in the first training session about handling of chemicals, yeah.
Yes.
Hilary?
Yes, yes.
As far as I remember that with this material you have to double container and yeah,
Yes.
especially what's the title of that first session? I will check it.
It was chemical management.
Chemical management.
Yeah, it was on
Okay.
the first day.
Yeah, chemical management, reception date.
Opening date.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So here. Yeah. The chemical management, yes. But it was in context of chemical management at that, but still it is a health and safety issues because yeah, the management of chemical itself is concerned about at the end it will concern also about to manage it in a safe and healthy way. Okay. Mhm. Also, this material safety data sheet is very important. In also, as we talk a lot about it in the chemical management, uh, the material safety data sheet uh, should provide the following information: the chemical and physical properties, toxicity information, compatibility and compatibility, appropriate spill and fire response, and information needed for the first aid. And normally, this information is very important, and normally most of the work in laboratories memorize this by heart as far as because it needs a very quick response. Um, you know that maybe the first action when you get to the contact with chemicals to wash your eyes or hand with water, yeah, normally, yeah. Then you, in some cases, if it is acid, you add some base. But anyway, it should be provided in a very detailed information, and especially the most used chemical, you have to know it is um, provided information, especially for the first aid. Here, this is an example for um, material safety data sheet for potassium dichromate. potassium dichromate is used in the soil laboratory for what? For organic material. Here's a first aid measurement. Here's a hazard. Even in standard operating procedure for organic matter, they within the standard operating procedure, there will be section related to this. You remember that?
Yes.
For example, for potassium dichromate, what is the main hazard? You remember that?
Yes,
I remember that. What? What, Larry? Continue. Yeah. I think if you remember that from potassium dichromate, it's a source of chromium. So this is the main hazard. So it may make some problems related to this carcinogenic material, chromium. You remember that? So even when within standard operating procedure, normally there is a mentioning of hazard associated with the procedure itself in term of material and also and procedure. For example, in most cases, they stated very clearly this process under must be taken inside the fume hood. All these they are safety and health precautions or measurement to minimize or control the risk of hazard. Also, hazardous and biohazardous waste has a special guideline for proper disposal. For dispose of all waste, hazardous chemical and biological waste should be probably and according to the instruction. When this is, as far as I remember from the assessment of the laboratory, this issue needs some work from the laboratory because there is no specific methodology for treatment of the waste. Here some quick quiz or what wrong with this picture from your side. What do you think? What is wrong? Maria, what is wrong with this picture? Valari or Abir or others.
I'm
What is
looking.
wrong?
Just 1 minute.
مش السكيورتي مش لازم يكون مليان وهول الاشياء. لازم يكون
يس كلامك سليم.
دوش السكيورتي هون حاطين لازم يكون فاضي يعني مش لازم يكون مليان هودي الاشياء
بالضبط.
ويفتح المي ما خسرنا شيء.
بالضبط.
مقطوع على المي
هيدي عنا
ما لازم تكون ورا المكتب، لازم تكون دغري فينا نطالع.
صحيح. الحمام بتاع المعمل هو مليء معناه يا ايزر انه ما فيه مويه، المهم على العموم هو مملي يعني مليء بالمواد يبدو انها ويست وحاجه زي دي، فلو حصل مشكله ما حيكون متاح، ده خطأ ظاهر. الصورة الأولى ممكن يكون الخطأ إيه؟
الطفاية ما لازم تكون بعيدة ورا مكتب، لازم تكون بمتناول اليد دغري، والكيميكال مش هيك على الطاولة محطوط، لازم يكون بكلوز سبيشال لإله.
بالضبط. هو طبعا هو حقيقة انت عرفتي خطأين يعني، لكن هو يمكن يكون مركز في انا اتخيل الخطأ الاول الاساسي انه الطفاية بتاعت الحريق هي ما متاحة. يعني هنا الشخص لو عايز يصل للطفاية هو في طاولة، يعني
يضرب
ما في
بالطاولة
سهولة بتاعت.
يضرب بالطاولة بيرجع بفوت بالطفاية.
يعني it is not easy to access
Yes.
it is not easy to access it is not easy to access الفاير دي fighter equipment. And also in addition you are right انه الكيميكال مخطوط، ممكن يكون كيميكال او whatever لكن ما مخطوط in a proper way. فهنا it's very clear انه there is some wrong issues here. Also, what is wrong with this picture?
The protective, personal protective equipment.
She's
She's
wearing
wearing sandals, no gloves,
There is
and
no
also
shoes.
the mask is under her face. It's on the neck.
The chemicals on the
Also,
floor.
the fume hood is not. The door of the fume hood is
Yes.
not also.
There is no protective shoes also.
Yes, yes, yes.
في جالونات على الارض.
هي ماخذة راحتها خالص يعني. الجلوفز أو إيه ما she did not wear gloves. She wear a sandal, not closed shoes. The mask also. Also keep also what is wrong with this?
The mask, the gloves are not good. The mask is
Yes.
not on the nose.
He's drinking his coffee with in the fume hood.
And no lab coat.
Yes.
Oh yes.
And no lab.
lab coat. And the gloves.
عم يعمل بيكنيك، عم يعمل بيكنيك، مش عم يشتغل بالمختبر.
gloves مخزقين.
يعني كمية من الأخطاء. Yeah, also still he tried to improve his performance, but still there's many. So also to minimize or control the risk of the hazard, also the laboratory hygiene. Here in the image, the table is full of a lot of things. It is not clean or tidy, so you have to clear up waste, deal with washing up and putting things away as you finish with them. Normally, the general practice after you finish your work, you have to clean your table working table. And you have to make everything safe before you leave things unattended. So a clutter lab is a dangerous lab. Keep your lab. And you notice your lab is very nice and very clean, and from the video you recorded during this, of course, never eat, drink, or smoke in laboratory, never apply cosmetic, never touch your face, mouth, or eyes, never suck pens or chew pencils, never use cell phone and or AirPods and telephone. And never engage in practical jokes. All this measurement will minimize or control the risk. Drinking, eating, smoking, applying of cosmetic, touch your face, mouth, or eyes, suck pins or glue pencils. All this should be avoided to minimize or control the risk of. The last, prepare for emergence for uncontrolled hazard. You have to prepare. The best measure to keep in order to protect yourself and your colleague is to be prepared. This is there should be a standard operating procedure for this type of situation in your lab. As far as you remember from previous sessions, that when we talk about type of standard operating procedure, there will be some standard operation procedure for health and safety or emergency in general. So the recommended safety equipment, exit and emergency drills, emergency response, all this should be clearly stated in the standard operating procedure. The image here is very nice, I think, yeah. So in case of emergency, the fire blanket, first aid, body shower, and exit. I think this one is very important. This fire extinguisher and eye and wash station. It should be always this. So for preparing for emergency and control, yeah, you have to think always about. You have to think very considerably on issues related to the fire, spills, gas cylinder, electrical equipment. All this, most of the incidents they are related to these issues: fires, spills, and gas cylinders. Flammable substance. Avoiding fires from flammable substance by using minimum quantity. It should be stored in a special storage cabinet and use temperature controlled heating sources. Also, you have to know well what to do when if you have a fire, if you hear a fire alarm, member of staff must be attended fire training annually. For example, most of the people think that when you add or pour water on fire, it will end. You can stop fire by adding water. But in some cases, when you add water, you um, you make the fire more dangerous. And also, some places that I know from the firemen that sometimes when you keep the door closed, it is better to stop, for example, the fire. So anyway, I'm not giving a concrete statement, but you have to know well how to deal with the fire. Unfortunately, we experienced a very bad fire accident in our laboratory once, and actually when we lost um, all our office there because there is no good trained person to deal with the fire. So even actually it was a total loss. So a member of staff must be attend the training annually. I think that it is very important to have someone who can deal with fire, because most of these laboratories they have explosive material, and the situation can be very. So when an accident occur, it must be recorded in the lab register. The main purpose of register is to track an exposure in case of future illness, injury, and report it to your supervisor. And this is also it help in process of health, not only safety but it helps. So if there is some recording or record for an accident should be recorded very good in a very good way, so that um, it gives a possibility to track the exposure of worker in the future if they face problem related to the illness or injury. So create a laboratory safety manual. It is very important to have lab safety by writing a clear and concise policy regarding all RAB rules and best practice. So the new staff members can read this manual and ask that they sign it. So this will help in sustainable laboratory safety policy. Here it shows most of the important issues related to the lab safety. Use the glass, safety goggles when working. Also, don't never use open shoes. Here the area where you can put the waste. Never drink or eat. Use the gloves and so on. So here you build your lab safety manual. Yeah, there's some exercise. Actually, we make some ones. So this is the remaining. Thank you. The floor is yours now for any comment.
Thank you, Doctor. I
Welcome.
have a question about how to handle with the waste at the lab, with the chemical waste, with the reagent when we doing the practice. So everything we put it in the sink. What can
Yes.
be an alternative in the lab? What can we do to improve that?
Yeah, really with chemicals, normally it should be handled separately, and the best way of management of chemical waste is to isolate it, and then there will be many possibilities or many ways to treat it. Actually, it is really it is a very serious issue. The most should be used case by case. In some cases, you can make incineration. In other cases, it should be double count, double coated, and in some places they it is a serious problem for all. Even in some conditions, they just buried it after building of concrete, and so that to prevent spoilage of this material into the groundwater. Actually, it is a really it is very big problem that the proper disposal or proper treatment of chemical. Um, as far as I know, in some cases they make incineration، عمليات بتاعت حرق لكن درجة حرارة عالية to be to degrade it or to break it down into it is the basic constituent, so that it will not be harmful to environment. In other places, they poured it in deep holes, and the walls of these holes should be in building concrete, so that to prevent spoilage of this material into the. But anyway, it is very expensive issue. يعني هي زي عملية بتاعت التخلص من الأسلحة الكيميائية، ما زالت سهلة. في ناس بيقولوا إنه مفترض تكون في محارق. المحارق دي يعني درجة حرارة عالية، بعد ذاك بيحصل لها إنها بتتكسر لمواد أقل. لكن دي زي الدائرة خطة قومية يعني، وما أعرف. I think that ممكن ناس دكتور طلالي مثلا يتكلموا عن الحتة بتاعت الأكشن بلان. ممكن الناس يشوفوا هل مفترض تكون في آلية للتخلص السليم منها.
ايه
ما
انا
أعرف إذا
قصدي
طلال ممكن
بالمختبر،
يكون.
يعني لما نحن نكون عم نشتغل عملنا مثلا اورجانيك ماتر، من بعدها بنمسك البيكر وبنكبهم، بنصفيه من التراب وبنكب الباقي بالمجلة. فبهذه الطريقة انه الكيميكال، قصدي السوليوشن اللي نحن اشتغلنا فيهم، اللي فيهم اسيد، اللي فيهم غير رياجنت، كيف لازم نتخلص منهم بطريقة سليمة.
هو على العموم الطريقة المتبعة دي هي ما سليمة غير، لأنه هي فيها مواد كيميائية، وهي هتمشي للصرف الصحي أو الصرف بتاع البلد العادي، بدون ما يكون معالج، بدون ما يكون منعزل أو معالج. ف اوف كورس المسألة دي من ناحية بيئية ما سليمة. يعني في الدول الثانية بيفصلوا ليها، بيعملوا نظام بتاع صرف صحي منفصل
صح. اصلا
للمعامل.
بالدول الثانية مثلا بيوروب بتحطهم كل واحد برباطن لحال، وبيجوا اخر الاسبوع او اخر الشهر شركة معينة بتاخدهم.
عندك بيعملوا لهم المعالجات. يعني هي الطريقة العادية دي ما رغم انها في الدول كلها يعني ما في هسه في التقييم اللي احنا شغالين فيه في المعامل كلهم ما في نظام منفصل للمعالجه.
في مرة
دي
قلت لنا إذا
بالتأكيد
عملنا ديليوشن ما بنكون كمان إنه ما كتير بيأثر إنه عملنا ديليوشن قبل ما نكبهم مثلا.
وطبعا ده يمكن ده يعني ممكن يكون ده يعني دي الحمايه الحاصله، يعني انه اساسا هي كميه الكميه اللي بتنزل من المعامل ما بتكون كبيره مقارنه مع البلك بتاع المواد اللي بتدخل. يعني برضو حتى مثلا في الشاور العادي انت ما بتستعمل مواد كيميائيه، الشامبو وغيره كلها بتدخل. يعني في النهايه هي ممكن يكون الاثر نتيجه لانه الكميه ما كبيره، لكن طبعا هي لو الزول داير يرفع الستاندرد بتاع الستاندرد او المستوى بتاع التعامل مع الويست، مفترض تكون منفصله حتى لو كميات بسيطه. لكن بالتاكيد طبعا بس لانه الكميات اللي انتم المعامل تقارير مثلا تقارير الممكن ينزلوا معمل فنار مع الممكن ينزلوا مدينه بيروت كلها بتكون الكميه طبعا بالمقارنه بتكون بسيطه. هنا يمكن يكون ده وبالتاكيد ده طبعا ممكن يعمل يعني اذا بالاثر التراكمي ممكن شويه ممكن يزيد يعني، لكن بشكل عام النسبه بتاعت ما تضيفوه لهنا بتكون بسيطه. لكن الطريقه السليمه البروبر واي انك تفصل تفصل المخلفات من المعامل من المخلفات بتاعت المدينه. يعني ذاك يعملوا لها تريتمنت بشكل منفصل ونزلوها في
If there is a refining plant for the sewage water in the region where the lab is located, does this solve the problem? Can refining plant remove chemicals from the sewage?
Yes. This if you have an isolated sewage system within the laboratory, this will be very helpful to minimize the risk from the laboratory waste. You are right. At least here you handling your here you build your isolated system. This is the first step for the management of laboratory waste management. Yeah.
For example, there's a refining system for the whole sewage water for a certain region, not only the lab, our lab. Is this a solution? There's a refining plant system for the sewage water for Hasbaya, for example. Before they throw it in the river, the clean water, they withdraw it in the river. Can this solve the problem of lab wastes thrown in?
Yes, it helps to solve the problem. And also you have to make some monitoring for the quality of the output of your treatment. So yeah, it will be helpful, of course.
Regarding the empty bottles of the reagents, when we use up some reagent, is it safe to clean it and throw it with the plastic recycling? For example, here in our station, we do recycling. We throw plastic alone, paper alone. Can we throw them with the plastic after cleaning them?
No. After cleaning, but you have to check for data safety sheet for each, or actually you have to check the information come with material. For some it is okay after cleaning with water, it is good, but for others it is not. You have to take it case by case. For certain material it is okay. For example, if we take for example a bottle with chlorine, if you clean it with water, I think it will be okay, because even the chlorine is added in a specific concentration to the water for some materials can, as far as I remember from the first training sessions, that is the chemical management, there is a statement that most of the containers, they are designed to be recycled without problem. But still, yeah, I think you need to read the information come with the material. If in the data safety sheet they said that it is safe to clean it with water and then go to the ordinary recycle, do it. Otherwise, keep it, because as far as I know, for some here in Sudan especially, we have a problem with the chemicals, that the pesticide. We have a lot of empty bottles and cans and even these tanks. Now it was a real problem for us, because here it is not recommended to clean it and reuse it, because still there will be some residues. So I take this experience to let you know that you have to take care of this. First, you have to read the safety data sheet for each material. If it is stated very clearly, said that is clear, it is safe to clean it and then recycle, do it. Otherwise, you keep this for other ways of treatment. Um, in Sudan now, they think that the best solution for that is to make incineration from بتاعت حرق عالية, but it is very expensive, so they looking for fund to solve this problem. Any comment? فلاري انتوا بتعملوا ايه طيب لل للكانس والبوتلز
بصراحة الامبر بوتلز في شركة بتجي بتاخدهم ترجع هي بتستعملهم، يعني تبع
تمام، ده حل كويس جدا.
نعم، بس الباقي بينكب بالمجلى، يعني كل شيء فحوصات بالمجلى بينكبوا ومفتح عليهم الحنفية.
ده حل كويس. هو طبعا الهاندل للامتي كانس هو واحده من الايشوز التشالنجين للمعامل والتشالنجين للناس اللي شغالين في المجال بتاع المواد الكيميائيه جنرال يعني.
هلا ان جنرال كمان فور ذا بلاستيك يلي فيها الكيميكال برودكت مثل الديكروميت، الديفينيلامين and the other stuff بغسلهم، وبانه ما في ريسايكلينج بكبهم بالزباله. وقتها كان في ريسايكلينج كنا نبعتهم، بس هلا وقف ما بقى في.
يس. هو على العموم انا اللي بتذكر في الفيرست بتاع الكيميكال مانجمنت، هو اغلبها بقت في الفتره الاخيره انها تكون يعني انها من الاول شغالين انها تكون سيف، لكن ستيل يعني الناس مفترض يهتموا بانه يشوفوا يقروا المعلومات اللي بتكون مع العبوات نفسها. ممكن نبدأ الثاني إذا في حاجة ظهرت من البرزنتيشن الأول ممكن we can come back to it.
اوكي.
أنا الجزء الثاني أنا فعلا متوقع إننا ناخذ ممكن نخش في تفاصيل كثيرة كده حاولت أدي جزء. اوكي
هنا بس ناخد 10 minutes قبل ما نبلش بالجزء الثاني.
And actually I expect اوكي يعني 45
just to be aligned with your explanation about the threshold of salt salinity. If they use salt to water ratio 1 to 2.5 or 1 to 5, they cannot use this categorization, this classification of salt salinity thresholds. They must convert into saturation phase. This is first. Second, the situation in Lebanon under greenhouse conditions, which are dominant on the coastal area, we found a salt accumulation up to moderate and strongly saline. We reached this level between 8 and 16. The same picture was lower from slightly saline level to moderate saline. We observe in the northeast area, the area is named like help me colleagues from the BK, Northeast BK, which is witnessing very intensive cropping system because of the weather conditions are favorable for winter cropping in that area. And salt accumulation are observed because of practice monoculture and intensive fertilization policy in Qa region. So here we need to optimize the agricultural practices in terms of cropping system, anti-cropping rotation, use of appropriate fertilizer, amount must be controlled, etc. To manage, because we observed an abandonment of the land after several years of intensive cropping and decrease of yield. Then self-restoration is observed in that area in Northeast and Hermel region, and the salts are leached due to the seasonal rainfall, and farmers get back, but unfortunately they get back to the same old practices, excess irrigation, excess fertilization. Thank you.
Yeah, I think your comment is very important, especially that the salinity development normally, as you mentioned, could be from natural condition, and this related to the soil formation condition, especially the climate, and as other source of secondary salinization. Secondary salinization is come from the agriculture practice. So as you mentioned that the management practice or agricultural practice in Sahl al-Bigha by using of fertilizer and so this can induce or promote formation of saline soils. So yeah, it is very important. If Maria can intervene, that what's the normal values for salinity and ESP if they in Sahl al-Bigha, based on your experience.
Or the coastal area as well, because of seawater intrusion.
Yeah, also we can take some notes from Falari and also from Abir.
Valerie, I think, analyzed some samples from greenhouses. But we observed when we work on this aspect, the increase of salinity in the greenhouse up to 10 to 12 times more than inside the greenhouse. Okay, we compare soil inside and outside in the same vicinity, in the same locations. Of course, it was related to the management practices, but also to the use of groundwater affected water intrusion and salinity built up. And fortunately,
دكتور طلال في عندك صدى بالصوت، ما عم نسمع مظبوط.
this is internet issue. Now hear me?
No.
Okay, I will write in the chat.
Actually, we hear you, but with difficulties. There is echo, but I get your main point that there is a tendency to have high salinity level in Sahl al-Bigha and the coastal area as well, and this you think is due from agriculture practice, especially fertilization, and of course fertilization and pesticide can increase the salinity level of the soil. If there is an intervention from أيوة يا ماريا.
usually in Bekaa, we don't have a problem in salinity till now.
How much the
So
value
the
is more?
EC all less than 4.
The AC is less than 4. Well, but this with suspension, yeah?
Yes, suspension, not saturated base.
Yeah. Normally the suspension lower in the value because you dilute the concentration of solution. But anyway, yeah, it is still within.
And we don't have high levels of sodium in soils, or are less than 300 ppm.
How much?
Less than 300 ppm sodium.
Less than 300. Okay.
So also the sodicity will be less. We didn't calculate it, but it must be less than 10 because the amount of calcium and magnesium are so much higher than the sodium.
Yes, I know that you have high values of calcium carbonate and
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
As we have sedimentary rocks, so we have there are higher calcium.
Yeah, high leaching.
Yes.
Normally with sedimentary rocks, yeah, they have a high leaching potential. Yeah. Okay, when we come to the CEC, cation exchange capacity, also it classified into low, medium, and high, and based on numbers less than 10 milliequivalent by 100 gram of soil is low, medium range 10 to 20, and high is more than 20. And normally, you know that the CEC is an indication of capability of soil to provide nutrient, and normally it has a very direct link with direct link with
clay.
direct link with with clay, the soil texture. So normally the soils with low clay content, normally with low cation exchange velocity. But the additional constituents that can increase or have also influence on the cation exchange capacity is organic matter. As far as I know from your soil that you have high organic matter content, so we expect that the CEC will be high as a result of the presence of organic matter rather than the clay. Okay. The total nitrogen, actually, you, I know from your, I know from you that you don't do measure nitrogen, but you calculated it from organic matter.
No, it's Marie in Talamara, she does the total nitrogen. It's the organic nitrogen that we do with from the calculation of the organic matter.
Okay.
Not the total. مظبوط ماري، انتوا بتعملوا total nitrogen.
لا بالروتين ما بنعمله اذا انطلب.
بس وقتها ينطلب.
بس موجود فينا.
calculation للاورجانيك نيتروجين من الاورجانيك
بالروتين نعمل calculation.
Still I think from Mari I understand that she calculates the total nitrogen from the organic matter. Anyway, we discuss about this issue. But if you measure it or calculate it, If the range is less than 0.5, it is deficiency level, and if it is 0.5 to 0.15, it is adequate level, and if it is more than 0.15, it is high level. Here, as I said, it is very important to differentiate between recommendation and characterization of soil. Here you can say this soil has a high level, but still it could be need fertilization. Here you just make a characterization of the soil. The soil is with high level of nitrogen. Full stop. Just here. No further recommendation. Here you make what we call soil characterization. So here for characterization of soil, you have these threshold values. Based on this threshold, you categorize or classify your soil into types. So if the value is less than 0.5, it is a soil with deficiency level of nitrogen, and full stop. But when we come to the process of recommendation for fertilization program, for any other measurement, we have to think about other issues before provision of recommendation. This is very important issue that we have to. Also, there is some also for potassium. Sorry, for phosphorus. The phosphorus is considered according to the Olsen method. Olsen
Where is the voice? We don't hear anything.
where
not
we
hear
stop here.
you, yes,
Here.
yes, we are talking
No,
about
at the
finish-
phosphorus.
With phosphorus, yeah.
Yes, phosphorus by Olsen.
Yeah, phosphorus by Olsen. It is low when it is less than 10. It is medium when it is between 10 to 25. It is high when it is 25 to 50, and it is excessive when it is more than 50, and the unit is ppm. As I said, the issue of recommendation is not only based on the soil test only. It has interlinkage. We will talk about it. For potassium, also here they use this standard is good that they use the same methodology you adopted, that the extractable potassium. It is similar to your procedure. They just use the extractable one, not exchangeable one.
Yes, yes.
This is good. At least I was very happy when I found this threshold is extractable, so it will be appropriate for you without any need for any modification. So it is low when it is less than 150 ppm. It is medium when it is between 150 and 250 ppm, and it is high when it is 250 to 800 ppm, and it is very excessive when it is more than 800 ppm. As Dr. Tilal said, that the potassium is moving from the soil solution to the root through diffusion, not like the other cell mass flow, because potassium in general is in the soil is not mobile. And also it is very important that it goes from the soil solution to the root solution by osmosis pressure, osmotic pressure. That's the ion selectivity, because potassium is concerned about the pressure. So when there is less, it should enter to the root solution to make the necessary balance for the pressure, osmotic pressure, while the other nutrients move with the mass flow. When there is the water, within the water there will be some nutrients, so that it enter to the plant. Here with the mass flow there is no selectivity. يعني بالعربي في بعض العناصر بتتحرك مع الماس، حركة الكتلة بتاعت المويه كلها. المويه اللي بتدخل مع الجذور بيكون بتحتوي من ضمنها عناصر. في بعض العناصر بتتحرك بخاصية بيسموها الاختيارية الأيونية. اختيار أيون سيلكتيفيتي، اختيارية، يعني لو تركيزه في النبات شوية بيدخل، لو تركيزه في النبات كتير ما بيدخل من محلول التربة. ودي لبعض العناصر، يعني الحركة بتاعت الأيونات أو الحركة بتاعت العناصر من from the soil solution to the root basically by two ways: mass flow and ion selectivity. The ion selectivity is very important to maintain the pressure. And this selectivity gives some crops ability to tolerate and resist high level of salinity in general. Also here the extractable soil, magnesium also, it is good also to be with extractable one. So you can say low when the concentration of your extractable soil magnesium is less than 60, medium when it is within the range of 60 to 300, and high when it is more than 300 ppm. And the same is for chloride. And actually, as you remember that in the past that they think that the chloride is not essential, it is considered as a micronutrient. But as we mentioned that it considered to some extent as a macro one. So it is very low when it is between 5 and actually less than 5 ppm, and it is low when it is in the range of 5 to 10, medium 10 to 20, and high 20 to 50 ppm, and excessive when it is more than 50 ppm. And of course this also important that in most of the soil they are not only the soil, even with irrigated waters there will be some sources of cation. So it is very important to know the chloride and water electrical conductivity and boron in irrigation water, because as we mentioned that there is two types of salinization of the soil. This the first one is the natural one, and this related to the parent material. And the second one, or called secondary salinization, is the major cause of it is irrigation water. If the irrigated water is with good quality, this will maintain the quality of soil. If the irrigation water with low water quality, this will improve and lead to formation of accumulation of salts in the soil and development of salinity. The organic carbon is considered very low when its percent is less than 0.4. Consider low when it is range between 0.4 to 0.8%, and medium when it is 0.8 to 1.2, and very high when it is more than 1.2. I think that the Lebanon soil has a high organic matter content, organic carbon content, and this is good sign of healthy soil in Lebanon. If you want to intervene or
yes, doctor. The organic carbon, it's not. It must be compared with the soil texture. We have the classification according to the soil texture. If it's sandy or silty or clay soil. So it's recommended to be higher in clay soil. Yeah, less than 2.5.
Yeah, because the clay soil has a good moisture content, so that it can promote production of organic matter from the crops or even from organic organism in the soil. But I think the major component that governs the organic carbon sequestration in the soil is climate. If the climate is very dry, without soil moisture, and also very hot to ignites the organic matter, then the organic carbon will be very low. Normally with reedy soils, especially in Sudan and other desert countries, the organic carbon is very, very low. Even we don't have normally 0.002, something like this. But I think your comment also is right regarding that. Normally with clay soils, the organic matter is increased, but here in relation with the soil moisture. Yeah, you get my point, Maria?
Yes, okay, thank you.
يعني مثلا في اراضينا السودانيه ممكن تكون في كلي، لكن الاورجانيك ماتر ما بتكون كثير. هنا لشنو؟ لانه نحن الاراضي بتاعتنا هي في بيئات جافه، ما في مويه، الامطار قليله، درجه الحراره عاليه، فبالتالي دي ما ظروف بتكون ما بتكون مناسبه ما ظروف بتكون مناسبة لشنو؟ لتكون مادة عضوية. Okay. So the calcium carbonate it's considered very low when it is less than 5%, low when it is between 5 to 10%, moderate when it is 10 to 20, high when it is 20 to 35, and very high when it is more than 35. As far as I remember, the Lebanon soils, they have a very high calcium carbonate, especially in Al-Baga. You mentioned that it reaches sometimes more than 60, yeah? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But not everywhere. You know, sometimes we have calcareous soils also in the background.
Yes.
But in the hills surrounding Rika, we have these calcareous soils and highly calcareous soils developed on Senonian rocks with a total CSR3 about 70% and even more.
And under
Total.
this condition, there is development of a calcite horizon or not? Calcite horizon.
There is the soils in the irrigated soils, the partially well leached with good drainage. Sometimes we observe the calcic horizon in the subsoil, but it's not very deep. I mean thick, thin. In the north, Beka, where I mentioned about Ka, we see the petrocalcic horizon formation.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people rehabilitate these soils, they remove the calcic horizon. It is about 40 centimeters thickness, and it can be fragmented easily with pockland. And they remove it, and under the petrocalcic layer, there is a thick soil, deep soil. They are exploiting this soil. Yes, and they put the removed rocks as wind barrier.
Oh. Very interesting. Very interesting.
دكتور طلال ما عم نسمع شو عم تسأل كتير الصوت فيه صدى.
Dr. Muhammad, you hear me very properly. The other people don't hear me properly.
Actually, I hear you, but there is echo. I concentrate to and yeah, there is echo, but I hear you. I don't know what, but I try hard to. So anyway, I think Dr. Tilal mentioned that there is accumulation of calcium carbonate in certain areas of Lebanon, especially in the north, Sahl al-Biqa', and he mentioned that even this lead to formation of calcite horizon, طبقة من calcium carbonate, and normally it is very thick. I think he mentioned about 40 centimeters thick, 40 centimeters thick. Then the farmers used to remove that and they find a beet soil below that. I'm right, Dr. Tilal?
Yes, and there is no gypsum horizon in Lebanon. No gypsum horizon. Only petrocalcic horizon and calcic horizon are observed.
And there is no gypsum horizon in Lebanon. I think this indicates that the soil formation condition of the Lebanon, that Lebanon may be sometimes full with or swamped with the sea. Yeah, maybe.
Yes, you are right. You are right. We found you know, fish, rocks with fish in the high mountains.
Fossils.
The fossils. Yeah.
فاصل يعني ده ممكن يكون الكلام اللي قاله دكتور طلال ده يكون مؤشر لانه يعني في زمن ما صحيح طبعا انه كل لبنان كانت مغطاه بالمياه بتاعت البحر الابيض المتوسط، بالتالي ده بيؤدي لانه يحصل يكون في accumulation of calcium carbonate، لانه وده ظاهر يمكن يكون قال في الحفريات في بعض الصخور اللي اصلا هي متحجرات بتاعت ممكن تكون الكورال ريف، صح، الشعب المرجانيه ولا الصدفيات. فطبعا المساله بتاعت انه طبعا يقال imagine انه البحر الابيض المتوسط كان بيصل السودان لحد الجزء الشمالي، كان مغطى بالبحر الابيض المتوسط. يعني بعد ذاك حصل له انحسار نتيجه نشو الحركه التكتونيه وكده. فهي يعني انا I like to talk about this because it is very interesting issue. يعني ذات انه السويل فورميشن فاكتور او عمليات تكوين التربه عمليات يعني بتدي مؤشرات غريبه. يعني ما هي الحاجه، التربه دي ما تكونت الان، يعني تكونت نتيجه لملايين السنين. فقبل ملايين السنين الكره الارضيه ما كانت بالشكل هذا، فجزء كبير يعني حتى لبنان وممكن ممكن يتمدد لحد الدول المجاوره كان البحر الابيض المتوسط مغطيه. بعد ذاك نتيجة لحركات تكتونية بالإضافة لنشوء أعتقد مضيق جبل طارق، هو وقف الفلو ووتر فروم المحيط الأطلنطي، وبقى شنو، بقى البحر الأبيض المتوسط الكمية بتاعت المويه بتاعته قلت، بدأ يحصل انحسار للمياه وكده. حتى الجزء الشمالي من السودان، يمكن لحد الخرطوم أو قبل الخرطوم شوية كان هي مغمورة بالمياه بتاعت البحر الأبيض المتوسط. فالسويل فورميشن فاكتور أو عمليات تكوين التربة مرات بتدي مؤشرات أو بتدي حاجات very interesting يعني. anyway يعني المهم الكلام ده جابوا الكالسيوم كربونات الاكيوميليشن بتاعه الهاي بيرسنت بتاعته في لبنان ناتجة من عمليات تكوين التربة بتاعت اللبنانية يعني، وتأثرها برضه
but we should pay attention not only to the total calcium carbonate, but also the active part, which is affecting more pH and soil and plant interactions.
Yes. يعني presence of الكالسيوم كربونات عنده علاقة برضه بالبي اتش. يعني البارامترز دي these parameters they are very interlinked. During our discussion we try to make the necessary interlink, and this as we mentioned in previous sessions that nowadays there is a tendency to use this interrelationship between parameters to avoid the direct measurement, as you do normally, that you identify the organic nitrogen from the organic matter, and also you can identify the saturation percent or hydraulic conductivity from the texture, and so on. There is always interlink between parameters. So for as we said that interpretation of soil test result is very interesting part of, and actually is a very interesting part and very useful part, because it gives a crema of your work to the end user, the client, whatever it is, or he is farmer or he is governmental executive or a person in charge in agriculture private company and so on. Now with the gypsum, the good that you don't have a gypsum in as from Dr. Talal said, but it considered very low when its value is less than 1, low when it is 1 to 3%, moderate 3 to 6%, and high when it is more than between 6 to 10, and very high when it is more than 15. Also for the micronutrient, manganese, zinc, copper, and iron, because they are considered the most measured and important for the plant. There is a low and marginal and adequate threshold levels for each one. I will not going to number. I will just give you 1 to 2 to look on it.
Regarding fair, it's greater
And
than adequate, right? Not 0.4. I think there's a typo here.
how?
Fair.
In BBM. All this in BBM. All this value in BBM. But here I still, if we want to talk about the interlink, that the micronutrient and the other cations, always they are influenced by the pH level. Even if the quantity is adequate, but the pH is more than, for example, more than 8, this will stop or will affect the availability of this macronutrient for the plant. Normally, with the availability of nutrient or whatever it is, macronutrient or macronutrient, it influenced by the level of pH. So you have to think in this way, not only the threshold. You can say with the threshold, yes, it has adequate, but still it is not available for the plant because the pH is more than 8, for example. Here you move from simple interpretation into process of recommendation. So during this session, actually I emphasis on this issue that here you make a characterization of soil, not provision of recommendation. After that, you have to know well the interlinks between issues, and then you provide the final recommendation. Also, the boron also is very important micronutrient. Also, it considered very low when it is less than 0.2 ppm, and it considered very excessive when it is more than 2. And here also that the micronutrient here is very important, this boron, especially for the growing tips of the plant. Normally the soil with deficiency in boron, it have curl tips of the crops. So here it consider very low when it is less than 0.2 ppm, and very excessive when it is more than 2. And of course, with the macronutrient, there should be high consideration of the level, because if it is increased than the needed quantity by the crops, it can lead to toxic effect. The texture also, you can say the soil is sandy when it is the textural class is sand or loamy sand. So here you can say that the soil of for example, for the coastal area is sandy because the textural class is sandy, or the textural class is loamy sandy, and you know well how to have the textural class based on the particle size distribution. And also you say the soil is loamy when it is textural class is loam or sandy loam or sandy clay loam or clay loam. And this is the same for others. When it is silty soil, when it is the textural class is silt or silty loam, and you say the textural class is silty clay when is the textural class is silty clay loam or silty clay. And you say the soil is clayly soil when it is textural class is sand, clay, or clay. So here you make the characterization of the soil based on its texture. Here, the very important issue that the availability of water holding capacity and infiltration rate or hydraulic conductivity. And as Dr. Talal mentioned previously, that the water content is very important factor for govern availability of nutrient to the plant. So the soil is considered have a very low water holding capacity when it is values is less than 6 centimeter per meter. Low when it is 6 to 9, moderate when it is 5 to 15, and very high when it is more than 20. And also the infiltration rate. Infiltration rate actually is like the hydraulic conductivity. You remember we did or we elaborate in issue of hydraulic conductivity, how the water pass through the soil column. So it considered very extremely slow when only 50 millimeter pass through the soil column per day, and very slow when it is 5 to 100, moderate when it to 200 to 40, and very rapid when it is more than 800. And normally available water holding capacity and infiltration rate, they are very related to the soil texture and also the bulk density. And so we can say the infiltration rate and water holding capacity, they are related to soil texture, organic matter content, and bulk density. Normally soils with sandy texture, they have a very rapid flow of water. And this is very normal. When you put the water in the sand, it moves down or very quickly. If you have a clay, then it takes long time to pass through the soil. So in general, the infiltration rate and available water holding capacity, they are linked with soil texture, with organic matter content, and of course, the bulk density and particle density. Because you know that there is linkage between particle density and texture and bulk density and texture, and also the organic matter content. This is a table for conversion of values from ppm into milliequivalent potassium per 100 gram soil. And actually this conversion issues is very important to have some fortunately there is a lot of online calculator or converter, so you can convert not only for this, but even for electrical conductivity from millimole to DC Siemens, from DC Siemens to also to micrometer per centimeter and so on. This conversion normally they are very important to standardize your measurement. Now we come to the process of or the issue of recommendation. Actually, I would like to highlight that normally there is general recommendation. Normally, whenever you have a soil report or soil, you have a general recommendation, and this general recommendation, not only this, but this is the most used one, and which will jump for my mind very quickly when I write this issue. That, For example, you can make some general recommendation for adoption of a specific irrigation system. And this based on what? Based on the soil topography, soil texture, infiltration rate. So you can say this for this project, I recommend, for example, to have a drip or pivot system, not the surface one that use a lot of water, because the topography of the soil is not flat. So here you cannot adopt the surface one, surface irrigation one. In general, here you have to go to the drip or pivot system. Also, you can make some recommendation to establishment measures against water or wind erosion, for instance. Yeah. Normally here I don't know the situation there in Lebanon, but normally here we have a problem of wind erosion. So normally, based on that, we recommend that to establish, for example, shelter built from trees or from earth dam, that to prevent the wind erosion. Also, I think in Lebanon, may you thinking of water erosion. Yeah, you have to build some measurement or to provide some recommendation for measurement against water erosion. But of course, you can elaborate on this issue. So when you come to the recommendation, it is very important to consider many factors, not only the soil. You have to consider the soil results. You have to consider the climate. What's the condition? How here in case of, I put wind erosion from Sudan because I know that the speed of wind is very high. So this condition may create or be favorable for the wind erosion. So I have to take care of that. Also, I have to take care of socioeconomic aspect. For example, you are used to grow olive, citrus. Maybe based on the soil only, I can say for you, grow mango. But here is the climate of Lebanon is favorable or suitable for growing mango. It cannot be here. It is not only soil, but you have to consider other. Even is Lebanon farmers, even if the climate is okay and the soil is okay, if the farmers or are the farmers of Lebanon used to grow mango, how to handle the mango, for example, mango tree. So here, when you come to the recommendation, you have to consider many factors, not only one factor. As I mentioned many times, the first part is characterization of soil. But when you come to the recommendation, you have to consider the soil factor, climate factor, human factor, and even the economical analysis. For example, if there is a place where you can grow some crops, but there is no market for that, or there is no roads to take the product at appropriate time and expenses. So here you have to think to make a very comprehensive analysis of the situation to come out with a concrete recommendation. Also, there is always a reclamation, general recommendation that reclamation of saline and or sodic soil. And the good thing that you don't have problem of sodicity, really, because it is very difficult to be managed from my experience. But with saline soils, the reclamation procedure is very easy. you just need to leach the salt away from the root zone, and this is done by um, using of um, using of the good quality water. You just increase the irrigated water for the soil, and then this will lead to leaching of uh, accumulated salt away um, from the root zone. In case of sodic soil, and I'm very happy that you don't have this problem, but in case if there is some pocket, normally it need two issues. It need first of all replacement of sodium by calcium. You replace the sodium in the soil by calcium, and then you have to make leaching by and the addition of good irrigated water to leach or remove the sodium away from the root zone. So here with the sodic, you have double double procedure. First, replacement of sodium by calcium, and then you go to the leaching of release sodium by water. But in case of saline soils, you just add water, excessive water, irrigated water, and then this will remove the salt from the root zone. When we come to the crop requirement, it should be also know that the crop, and I mentioned this in general, but now I make it in I shape this again. The crop requirement, the crop need certain soil requirement. For example, um, banana, because this is our when we know or we practice or we grow, it need a well aerated soil with well aerated soil, and that in the pH range of pH less than 8, and also it should be deep soil. So here you have the requirement of that crop. Also for wheat, there is a certain crop soil requirement. For sorghum, for every crop, olive, citrus, um, or each crop has its soil requirement. In addition, each crop need a certain nutrient also. For example, if we come to the banana is need more potassium than nitrogen. If you grow banana, you have to ensure that the percent of potassium to the banana to the nitrogen is 3 to 1. 3 to 1, so that if you have nitrogen is 10, then the potassium should be 30. So this is the requirement of this plant. Also, there is a water requirement, and water requirement always is very important. That some crops need a lot of water. For example, the sugar cane need a lot of water in comparison with cotton or with wheat. And usually the water requirement provided for the crop by two ways, either from the rainfall. So here the natural one. So here you have to look to the annual rainfall of this area. And also the other source of water is from artificial one, that's to irrigate, from irrigation water. So in both cases, you have to ensure that the requirement of the crop from water should be provided to ensure good crop production. And of course, with also the crops have a climatic requirement in form of rainfall and also in temperature. That most of us know that there is Mediterranean crops, there is tropical crops, there is so. For example, even if we continue with the same example, the mango cannot be grow in Lebanon because it is a tropical fruit. It need higher temperature that and it cannot survive in frost, which is the case now. You have a low temperature. This is not suitable for mango. And of course, we cannot grow well in Sudan. For example, the crops trees that you have olive and others, olive, apple. We cannot, for example, grow apple from in Sudan because the climatic requirement of this apple and olive is not available in tropical countries like Sudan. So, all in all, after you provide the necessary recommendation in terms that of you can say that this soil base, this land, not soil here, you move from the soil to the land because you consider the soil, consider the climate, consider the socioeconomic aspect. Now you move from the soil. You give a very precise recommendation that this land can be suitable for agriculture and it can be suitable for certain crop. For example, apple, olive, citrus. This is the part one. The part two, you come to the provision of uh, specific fertilizer program. And normally with the specific fertilizer program, you take care a lot of the crop nutrient requirement. So based on that, you can say for this crops or for the farmer, you can mention certain values of nitrogen, phosphor, potassium, micronutrient if necessary, in kilograms, and uh, provide this information for the farmer so that he can apply it for his land for the best or for appropriate crop production. Normally, the term balanced fertilizers is the term is very broad, but some people think that is a balanced fertilizer that a fertilizer program that provide the soil with nutrients that taken by the plant during that year. But this approach somehow ignore or don't take care or don't consider the soil test program because as we mentioned it in I think in some lectures or sessions that some nutrient can have a residual, can stay in the soil. For example, in phosphorus, if you add phosphorus this year, not all the phosphorus that you add will be available to plant and be exhausted. So there will be some remaining. So when you come to the next year, you will have some phosphorus in the soil. So there is no need to just consider that how much the plant take. You have to take care of the result of soil test. If there is some deficiency, then you can add or you can compensate. Other thinking that also the balance fertilizers concern about ratio between calcium, potassium, and magnesium. And in such case, if the ratio is not okay, then you have to add. And really, this is important, especially with at the fruiting stage. Normally, the vegetation growth may be very good, but there is no production of fruit. At this, you have to thinking about the composition ratio of the crops. And, and normally you do this by taking leaf sample, not soil, leaf sample. If you found there is some deviation from the standard ratios between the two contain, then you go to add to amendment this. So the nutrient balance is very important. If you add nitrogen, the plant will continue in the vegetative growth without any conversion or change into flowering. The last one is a balanced fertilization program, and this is generally the most accepted and most used. That is the program which provide for adequate but not excessive supplies of all plant nutrient in the soil system. You add adequate quantities of plant nutrient into the soil system, and this is the most the most used approach. And this is end, but I think we have to show you as I promise to show that some statistical method here. I will share with you just a minute to make a share. I will share with you. So now I share with you some work we did. Here, actually, the technique that to convert values from suspension to the soil based is depend here on statistical method regression. But what we did is very simple. We take some samples, we analyze it as a suspension, and the same samples we analyze it in the paste. So now we get results from the soil suspension and from the soil base, and then we make the regression between them. So here we convert. If you see it well, you see it well, you see it, yeah.
Yes.
Here we have in this is this SAR in suspension, and this SAR in the paste. So we have here SAR based against SAR 1 to 5 suspension. We have the value here, the equation here, the SAR in the paste equal 1.24 multiplied by SAR in suspension plus 2.3. The coefficient of determination was 0.54. Here we just as I said, we take a certain samples. These certain samples we duplicate the analysis, the first one with suspension and the second for the same samples in base. So you make the then we will make here, we make the here, if you notice here, the EC 1 to 5. You notice that we did it for this And then we have here even here also, if you notice here, pH 1 to 5, 1 to 2.5, and also we make so by the end we converted into yeah, EC 1 to 5, and here EC the paste, and we make it like this. It is even I can do it very quickly for you if you like. So here I just this for EC suspension with normally with EC with EC the relation is very straightforward, and it is I add trend line, can go to linear, then I can say display equation, display R squares, and normally with EC it is very straightforward, and the coefficient of determination is very high. Because here the factor is dilution. When you dilute the soil, the EC will decrease. So here the govern factor is only 1. So from this you can convert the EC of paste based on EC of suspension. EC of the paste equal 5.4 multiplied by EC of suspension plus 0.1, and the coefficient of the determination is very high. Actually, these values somehow they are. So if you want to do it, just take 10 samples or 15 samples and make the analysis for suspension and for paste, and then you can build your model for conversion of EC into saturation base. But in general, even this value is okay. Even if you take this one, you will get. So here, I think Maria, the value will be very high if you said that in most of البقاع the EC is 4, or it will be 5 multiplied by, if it is 5 or 4, so the EC paste will equal 5.39 multiplied by multiplied by the reading, your 4, it will be 25, 21. So the salinity is very high. Because you use a suspension, it seemed to it less than 4, but it's actually it is not less than 4. If you notice here, the suspension, you see that?
Yes.
You see, the suspension is 0.7. The actual ET is in the base, it is 5.9. 0.5, it is 3.4. 0.6, it is 4. So actually you multiply by. So I recommend I recommend that to make this at least you can take 10 samples, or because the EC in general is not it is very straightforward because it depends on the dilution. Whenever you dilute the solution, the EC will be lower, because the concentration of salt will be lower. So this will be indicated by lower values of EC. I'm done. Lucrezia, you are here?
Always.
Oh, you are always. We are happy that you are always.
So
now I
are you
think we
ready
come
for
to
the closure of the training?
No, we are not done, but I think we are at the last part, so even you can contribute in the discussion, and if there is no comment from the others, we can go to the open discussion. We can start.
So we start with the evaluation of the training.
Maybe we have to wait if they have some issue related to the last session of soil result interpretation. If they have anything, but yeah. Any comment, any intervention, any more elaboration?
Thank you, Dr. Gafalla, for your time and for the sessions.
You are welcome. It's my pleasure always to be with you.
Yes, doctor, I have a question
concerning the phosphorus in soil. We know that the soil saturation of phosphorus is till 15 ppm as P, not as P2O5. So if we have soils contain with less than 15, it's not available for the for the plants because it's for the saturation. So when we want to give instruction or recommendation for the fertilization, it must be taken into consideration that the 15, it's for the whole saturation. Or the amount above 15 will be available for the plants.
Yes, you are right. Actually, as I said, that when you come to the recommendation, you have to consider all issues, not only the soil content, because as I mentioned, the soil content at that level is just characterization of the soil itself, not interlinked with the recommendation. So your comment is very valid and very important. That even the soil is adequate.
This amount 15, this amount of 15, it's the same for all soil types. It must be considered the same.
Yes,
it-
yes, it not considered the, it is adequate in general for the soil, but when you come to the recommendation, the soil type has an effect itself. So you
I
cannot
missed
say
I missed
that.
I missed the last sentence because there is something.
Yes,
If you can repeat.
I said that your comment is very valid. You cannot consider 50, for example, ppm is adequate level for crops in the all soil type.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is also P are speaking about.
Yeah, it is also method. Yeah.
And
Based on
also and this methodology is suggested for calcium saturated soils, for calcareous soils and calcium saturated soils dominant in the region.
yes, yes.
دكتور طلال ما عم نسمعك منيح.
I see the chatting. I am writing the chatting.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that it is also in phosphorus. Of course, yeah. We even know that we use olefin in Lebanon because the soil is calcareous. You cannot use other spray method and
Yes, the Olsen method. Yes.
yes, yes, yes. I have to prepare myself for the email as well. You- So, any comment? Any comment? Any comment? Good looking, Dr. Tilar. Any comment? So I think that's the important part, that when you come to recommendation, you have to consider many factors, not only. Do you have the same with me with echo? You hear me well?
Yes,
Not really. There is a little echo in your sound. I cannot hear you well.
I think the echo is from Dr. Talal because his
No, why?
microphone is open.
Okay, okay. So now you hear me, yeah?
My microphone is closed.
Mhm. Yusuf, close your.
I want to add something.
Okay. Okay, Filari.
Soil
ahead.
analysis. Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. When I give the results to the client for the soil analysis, I give also with it a paper of a general recommendation, but the clients want more than a general recommendation. He wants like a plan of fertilization. This fertilization thing, I cannot give it to him, but for the recommendation, we give it without interpreting the results we give him.
Yeah.
Also,
Actually, the fertilizing program is dependent on many factors: climate, soil.
Yes, yes, it depends
Yeah.
from the crop, the region, the water system, irrigation, and everything.
Yeah, yeah. So it is very comprehensive. And normally, you cannot put a fertilizer program without concern of economical issue. Even you have to consider.
Especially, and I am not an agricultural engineer, to know each crop how much fertilizers, how much NPK it needs.
You are right. You can send him to an agronome who is able to do this job. You cannot
I cannot hear you, Dr. Talal, but if you can give us like another day of training how to do the fertilization plan, we will keep it for ourselves. It's okay. It's not. I think it's a good idea if you can help us in this. But I know it's the job of the agriculture ministry.
Yes, yes. Actually, there are many types of fertilizer program, and it also depends not only on the soil. If the targeted production, if you want to produce, if you want to produce 1 ton, the fertilization program will be different. If you want to produce 2 ton, and so on.
Can you read my comment I wrote in the chat?
Yes, and we usually do that. We ask the farmer to consult an agronomist.
Yeah, good. So Dr. Talal also mentioned that there is some studies in Lebanon that the phosphorus, 70% of phosphorus was fixed by 24 hours. So it is, this makes even the fertilization program is very difficult. I think if there is no others, we can do it, but we can start the any comment.
I will discuss the last recommendation here I wrote, the last suggestion. Can you read it?
Okay. Dr. Talal.
I read your message, Dr. Talal. Yeah, it's good if you can give us a course.
Yes, this must be discussed with the ministry, with
yes,
FAO,
of course.
with FAO. I can organize a simplified soil science course, to give it on part-time basis, not to take you the whole day. I can do that. Of course, and especially with focus on recommendation. Recommendation is very important task.
Yes.
Yeah, we really need that.
Take this opportunity.
Yeah, because as you said, we usually send the client to an agronomist to give him the recommendation.
Good. Okay, but the farmer here in Lebanon are not able to pay for this service. This is a problem.
Yes.
For recommendation. So we must see how this can be done through the extension service.
Yes, you're right. That's what I said to the clients. You can go to الإرشاد الزراعي بوزارة الزراعة، أو بدكم تسألوا مهندس زراعي تعرفوه يفيدكم أكثر.
يعني I am sorry for the internet. This is not my Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Are you
I think
Thank you for your help.
you did well.
Thank
So
you.
I think I will hand over to Lucrezia so that because he has
Yes, so first thing
Yeah.
to do now is to turn on our cameras and give us your best smile. I'm going to take a group picture
oh
to
very nice.
remember this training. So all cameras on, please. I will also turn on mine. If you want me in the picture. Okay. So let me see how to do this. Usually Filippo does it. Wait, gallery. Here it is.
Yeah, we need Filippo with us.
Yeah, I'm very bad with technology.
I
So please-
usually
Oh, me too.
screenshot.
Oh, Valerie, you're working with from your car.
Yes, just now I had to leave the office for 5 minutes. I'm in the car,
No
Sorry.
problem.
but
I
I'm
see-
here with you.
I see many people that do not have their camera on yet. Please turn them on. Just 1 second. Otherwise, I take it and then you just appear as a name. Okay. Ready? Big smile. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, one moment.
One moment, Lena. Some people not yet.
Let's do it again then.
Yeah.
Okay, hi.
I
Do it
miss
again. Do it
Sarah.
again.
Done.
Ready?
Ready.
3, 2, 1. Big smile.
Hala Abu Trabi, come near. Some people they are not. I check it.
Only Sarah I miss in terms of pace.
Larry Hasabaya, come near to show your voice.
But I took it, so we have it. Okay, now I have some poll for you, so we do it very interactive because initially we thought to send you an online survey, but then we thought that it would have been nicer to do it together so that you could also argument, no, like your feedback. We really care about improving. So first question. How did you enjoy the training? Can you, so a lot, enough, not at all? This is just a general feeling on how you live this experience. So there is a window on screen and you can just select the option you like the most. I miss the 4 people. Okay, 3 people more. Can you all see these windows for voting?
Yes.
Okay. So Dr. Dafalla, they enjoyed it a lot.
Really? Thank you.
You should be happy about it.
Yes, really, I'm very happy. Yeah.
I will take screenshots of all of this, so we will include it in the report and we won't forget. Okay.
You're a good Dr. Dafalla.
Then, second question. Did the training meet your expectations in terms of content? So as you know, we review the training program together. I know that sometimes, we added during the training, we added some training topic. So in terms of content, did it meet your expectation? I still miss 2 people. Okay, I'm closing these this poll. Okay, so we have 2 participants that said enough, but I will not discuss this yet because I have other questions that might help justifying these 2 enough questions. So let me move to the other question. So, was the quality of the lecture sufficient? How was it? Very high, high, fair, low, or very low? I don't see who answers what, so it's completely anonymous. Do not feel afraid to tell us also bad things. We are here to learn, no, from you as well. So please. Okay, let me share the results. So the quality, Dr. Dafalla, was from high to very high. So congratulations. Now, let's get into like more details. I had to break down the upcoming question into 4 parts because there were limitations in the number of options I could enter in the poll. But now we look into really each specific training question. If these met your expectations in terms of quality, so level of details discussed, time allocated to the discussion. So here, as you can see, you have all the topics that were discussed during the training sessions. These are just part of them. Then I have other 4 pieces of this question coming. It's a multiple choice. Oh, sorry, you cannot see it. So you can select more than one option. So is there any training session that did not meet your expectations in terms of quality, level of detail discussed, time allocated to the discussion, and so on? So for the moment, we look into chemical management, implementation of SOPs, and then the sessions on the pH in water, electrical conductivity, soluble cations, and also anions. So please select any training session in this list that did not meet your expectation.
If there is no such
then don't put anything. We will be happy.
then we don't submit, we don't participate.
Yeah, yes. So as long as you are happy with how the training on this topic was conducted, you should not select any option.
Good.
So I give you some more seconds, and then I close the poll. Okay, I'm closing it. Okay, so Dr. Dafalla, my understanding is that participants were happy with how the trainings on the topics on screen were conducted. They would have not made anything different.
Okay.
Now, same question, but different topics, okay? So now we talk about your expectations against in terms of quality, level of details, time dedicated to the topic and other. For well, for the SOPs you see on screen, that again includes soluble anions, total and organic carbon, total nitrogen, available phosphorus, CC exchangeable cations, and the sampling of soil. Again, please select all those that did not meet your expectations. I'm leaving it on screen for a few more seconds. Okay, I'm closing the poll. Okay, Dr. Dafalla again. It looks like they were happy with these training sessions. Okay. Okay, now let's look into other training topics. Same question, but now we look into total of microelements in the TPA, texture analysis by hydrometer and pipette methods, soil moisture content, bulk density, particle density, hydraulic conductivity. Well, reflections and closure notes on the SOPs. Maybe you wanted to have more time to discuss this. Quality assurance and quality control, calibration, and internal quality control. So please select all those that did not meet your expectations in terms of quality, level of details discussed, time dedicated to the topic, and others. I'm closing it in a few seconds. Please hurry to make your selection. Okay, I'm closing the poll. And here there is a feedback. So Dr. Dafalla, there was the request, or actually the feedback is that they would have liked to maybe discuss a bit more about calibration and internal quality control. I don't know if colleagues would like to take the floor and maybe tell us a bit more what they would have liked to do better. So it was a problem of level of details, informations provided, or the time allocated to this training session was not sufficient. Please take the floor, don't be shy. Let me open also the chat. Talal, does this come from you? This feedback? I see that you wrote a comment in the chat regarding the provision of recommendations on nutritive elements and not the type of fertilizer. Then calculation can be done based on the content in each type.
Yes, it was based on the statement by Rania. You can read it. It's above my statement, my response, that some farmers are using their own fertilizer, and it's difficult to know which type of fertilizer they are using, and they change the type, and they move from mineral to organic because of the prices. So I gave a recommendation maybe to suggest based on the element on nitrogen for example quantity. Then somebody must calculate based on the farmer's choice. If it is organic fertilizer, we know that manure, for example, contain not too much nitrogen, maybe 4 or 5%. And not all of it is available in the first year, etc. So we can calculate then considering the choose by the farmers fertilizer or compost or source of nutrient. This was just a response to Rania.
Okay, so you were not the one asking for a better session on calibration and internal quality control. Okay, I cannot hear anything, but
okay, we have to consider that in calibration and internal control to make more effort on it to improve it, yeah, in terms of content and also the time.
Yeah, my question was really like, does this feedback apply to the level of details provided, to the duration of the session, or to what? So that we can improve accordingly, because now it's quite general, no?
Yeah.
Okay, then let me launch the last part of this question that refers to the last topics that you discussed during the training. So is there any training session that did not meet your expectations in terms of quality, level of details discussed, time dedicated to the topic? And the training session at the stake now are external quality control, so proficiency testing, soil report writing, and interpretation of soil results and the provision of recommendation, and ultimately health and safety. What about this training session? Did they meet your expectation or not? I will end this poll in a few seconds. Okay, it looks like they were happy with these topics. Now, next question refers really like to the assessment of the trainer. So it's an opinion on Dr. Dafalla's performance. Can you please tell us if you think that he was flexible in accommodating your request and answering your questions during the training? So yes or no?
I have to go, yeah? Not to attend.
Of course, yes. Good trainer, very good trainer.
Thank you, thank you.
I support this. Those.
I prepared these questions by myself, so he doesn't know what is coming next. Okay, I'm about to close the poll. Everybody was happy, Dr. Dafalla. So thanks for your flexibility.
I'm happy too.
Now, I have another question that refers to you. And again, do you think that Dr. Dafalla talked well during the training in a clear way, using terms that you all know and making himself understandable to all? So was he clear in his way of presenting and leading the discussion? Okay, I'm about to close the poll. Yes, Dr. Dafalla, you did very well. Let me share the results.
You know that when I have a problem, I talk in Arabic, so to make everything clear.
Okay, next question. So it's about your feeling during the training. Can you read the whole options in terms of answers? So how did you feel during the training? Confident and relaxed? You were not afraid to ask questions and contribute to the discussion? So you overall enjoyed the training? Or otherwise you just felt fine? The content of the lectures was not very challenging and you attended the lectures but did not feel like contributing to the discussion much? Or otherwise you didn't feel very confident in asking questions and fair to be judged? So how was your feeling during the training? So I see that not many people are answering this question. I will keep it open for a few more seconds. Okay, I'm about to close the poll. Okay, overall, most of participants felt confident and relaxed. We had only 2 participants that did not feel very confident in asking questions. But based on the results of the previous poll, maybe it's not because of Dr. Dafalla, it's just a personal feeling. Did I share the results? Yes. As you can see, I'm not, usually I don't do polls, so sometimes I get lost. And other questions, we are almost through it. So did the training add to your knowledge? How much did you learn during these weeks? A lot or enough? There was nothing new and there was mostly the training session mostly refreshed your mind on the topics, or otherwise you learned enough, so you already knew some of the topics that were discussed, but most of the training content was new to you, or otherwise, well, these trainings didn't add anything to your knowledge. So a lot, enough, or nothing? I'm about to close the poll. Okay. So luckily we do not have anyone saying that they learned nothing, which is good. So thanks for your feedback on this. Another question refers to the training modality. So do you think that taking the training online affected your learning experience? So the options are yes, a lot, because you missed the interaction with the trainer. So this affected both the practical and the theoretical sessions. Or yes, taking the training online affected your learning experience, especially for the practical sessions. Or yes, it affected your learning experience, but not too much. Or otherwise, the last option is no. So having the training online did not affect your learning experience. Having the training in person would have been nice, but taking it online was not a problem, and also allowed you to continue your work in the lab. And having the recording of the trainings is also an advantage. So 4 options. I'm about to close the poll. Please hurry to answer. I'm closing the poll. So overall, participants were happy to take the training online, but some of them indeed miss the interaction with the trainer, and especially for the practical sessions. We have other 2 questions left. Is there anything that you wanted differently? For example, access to the training material. And this just reminded me that we have to send you the link to the presentations, because so far I just sent you the link to the video recording. Or the number of training days per week, maybe it's too much or too little, or the number of training hours per day. What would you have done differently? If there is anything, if there is something that you would have done differently, please tell us. It's a learning experience for us as well. So I see only, okay, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Okay, I am about to close the poll. Okay. Could you please, the one that said that would have done something differently, could you please give us a feedback on this? What would you have done? What would you have liked to do differently? If you feel like sharing, so that we can improve. If, okay, 2 hours per day. Okay, let me write a note on this. Okay. Okay, many thanks for the feedback. Okay, yes. Let me take note. Okay, we are getting, as long as there is not anyone else that wants to share feedback on this, I will go to the last question. that refers to the assessment modality of the laboratory. I thought that it would have been nice to ask you also about this. So can you please tell us about your laboratory assessment experience? So do you think that your laboratory assessment was conducted in an appropriate way? Did it meet your expectation? So we have three options. Yes, I found it comprehensive and the result well describe our laboratory's capacities and needs. Or it was okay. I would have done it differently. And in that case, please tell us how you would suggest us to do it. Or lastly, no, I'm not happy with the assessment report. And in that case, please tell us what you would like to change. We are still in time. We will add some pictures, do the proofreading of the report. So if you are not happy, fully happy with your laboratory assessment report yet, please tell us. There is still time to change it. I'm about to close the poll. Please hurry to make your selection. Okay. So it looks like you found the assessment appropriate. Okay. So this was my last question to you all. Thank you very much for giving us this feedback, and please feel free to take the floor if you would like to add anything to this training, to the assessment, and to this experience in general. Please feel free to do it. We are open, and we're open to listen to you, and we also welcome your feedback. As way forward, Dr. Dafalla, can you please prepare a folder with all the training material to share with the colleagues in Lebanon? Because yes, I realize they don't have the presentations.
I uploaded it to training material in OneDrive, but I can zip it again to one folder and send it to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We will follow up by email. We will add a few notes on this training also in the laboratory assessment report. We will send it out to our English mother tongue colleagues for proofreading, and then we will share all the final documents with you all. Okay. So I would like to thank you all on behalf of FAO for participating to this project and welcoming our training and to work with us and Dr. Dafalla. We really enjoyed it. Well, I could not be with you during the all trainings, but I was always there in the back. So thank you very much for your support, and we will follow up by email. Whatever you need, please send us an email as well. I think
Thank you
very much. Yeah, thank you. We really need training.
I think that Dr. Dafalla is also available to answer eventual questions that you might have following the trainings. So if something is still unclear or you want to receive more information on a topic, maybe on internal quality control and calibration, no? For example, since some said that this was not sufficient, please send us an email. I think that Dr. Dafalla will be happy to answer and further support you. Yeah, and he also shared his WhatsApp number, so he's available to be contacted.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kezia. Thank you, Dr. Dafalla, for your effort.
So thank you all.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.